Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you. Okay. Prema and I are going to present Tech Mahindra. So, Prema will take you through what the history has been, how the company is, and I will take you through what its functionalities are. Okay. So, Prema,
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Rashmi. So, hi everyone. I am Prema and I'm a home baker. So, that's my small introduction. So, Rashmi and me, we have worked on Tech Mahindra, as you see on the screen. So, Tech Mahindra is a division of Mahindra Group. So, earlier they used to call themselves as Mahindra, and later on they started calling themselves Mahindra Group. So, Rashmi, next slide. So, Mahindra Group, the parent company, started with steel trading venture in 1945. Then they were called Mahindra and Muhammad. So Mahindra brothers and Muhammad started this. Later on, Muhammad went to Pakistan after the partition of India-Pakistan, and thereafter Mahindra and Mahindra, the two brothers, taken over the entire thing forward. So since later on they had been indulged into so many other businesses, so many divisions they had. So they started calling themselves as Mahindra Group because they had quite bunch of companies. So now they are into 22 industries and 150 plus businesses. So that's about the parent company, the Mahindra Group. So next is, yeah, the one which you can see on the slides are the different industries they are into, the parent company. So the next is about the Tech Mahindra. So Tech Mahindra, the tagline is collaborate, connect, and change. So they have like as per 2020 record, so they are like 5.2 USD billion dollar company, um, and they have approximate one lakh for 25 employees or personals, and they are they are working throughout the globe, and they have 988 customers, including 500 companies, Fortune companies, and they are into 90 companies, 90 countries, sorry. So what is Mahindra? What do they do? So Tech Mahindra is an multinational technology company providing information technology and business process outsource services. Uh, and it is headquartered in Pune, and the registered office is in Mumbai. Uh, the birth of Tech Mahindra. So Mahindra and Mahindra started the venture, the joint venture with British Telecom. So they used to go to UK for the steel business. Then they got the opportunity uh, to have a business with British Telecom for the technology outsourcing. So initially, uh, this was in the year 1986, and British Telecom had 30% stake in the company. So later on, they started selling off their stakes part by part. In 2010, they sold 5.5% to Mahindra and Mahindra, the parent company. Then later in 2012, they sold 14.1% to institutional investors. Then finally, the rest 9.1 stake to institutional investors again. So this marked the exit of the Mahindra, exit of the British Telecom from the Mahindra. So thereafter, acquisition of Setem Computer Services Limited and the merger. So you must have heard, everybody is aware that there was this Satyam scandal. So after the scandal, the Mahindra Group, the Tech Mahindra, bid for it, and they were they were the topmost bidder, and they acquired the Satyam Computer Services Limited. Uh, so this was in the year in the year 2009. Sorry. So 2009, they acquired Satyam Company, Satyam Computer Services Limited. Okay, Tech Mahindra announced its merger with Mahindra Satyam on in the year 2012. So after all the approvals and go-aheads from the governments and all, so finally the merger finished on June 2013. So that makes the completion of the merger. So Satyam Computer Services brought in many businesses along with them. So they started business with they went into banking, financial services, insurance, manufacturing, retail, transport, and telecom. So all in all, Mahindra Tech Mahindra works mainly with the telecom. So they started with British Telecom, and thereafter also they, because I think they know much more than any other company about the telecom. So that's how we go. Okay. So yeah, that's it. So the vision of Tech Mahindra, we will continue to rise to be an agile, customer-centric, and purpose-led company, delivering best in the technology-led business solutions for our stakeholders. So, and the mission to be the global leader in outsourcing to the telecom industry, building on our technologies, competency, and customer interest, and creating value for our shareholders and customers. So that's their mission. Next slide, Rashmi. Okay, so the leaders. So this Anand Mahindra. Anand Mahindra is the uh, chairman of the parent company, as well as chairman and non-executive of uh, this Tech Mahindra. So he is one person for the entire Mahindra group or Tech Mahindra. He changed many things. Yeah. So after his coming, he changed many things. So let me. Um, Anand Gopal Mahindra, chairman since 2012 with Tech Mahindra. So he is the grandson of Jagdish Chandra Mahindra, the co-founder. So he is an alumnus of Harvard University and Harvard Business School, did MBA from Harvard Business School. In 1981, he joined, in 1981, Anand joined Mahindra Eugenie Steel Company as an assistant executive to the finance director. So that's how he entered to the company. So he initiated the Mahindra Group. So they were called Mahindra Mahindra. So he initiated Mahindra Group because he has seen lots of diversification and lots of business. So he brought new businesses in the area like real estate development and hospitality management as well. In 1991, he was being sent to all divisions, and he was involved with all the divisions, and his role and the position kept changing. So major changes were in 1991. Deputy Managing Director of Mahindra and Mahindra Limited. In 2001 as the vice chairman of Mahindra and Mahindra Limited. In August 2012, he took on the role of chairman of the board and managing director of Mahindra Group. So from his uncle Keshav Mahindra. So he is the third generation who is with the company. So Anand Mahindra has been tagged as the face of Indian capitalism by The Economist. Forbes India magazine has recognized him as the entrepreneur of the year for the year 2013. He also serves as member of board of committees of various companies all around the world, and he has received lots of honors and awards and recognition from many company or institutions from all over the world. So he is a person who has he has also how to say rearrange all the system in the company, and he is one person. I have never come across such a person with so many awards and recognitions from all over the world. So he has received Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan award as well. So he has lot many awards. So this is why. So he is like something huge for me that he has done, and he is also board member of Howard University or Howard Business School, and you can see that the management from the management also there are people who has studied or passed out from Howard Business School. So he has brought in some people from there. Okay. Yeah. Next important person is CP Gurnani. CP Gurnani was like
Women and Wealth ka wo hai, presentation.
because Anand Mahindra is all over the place. So CP Gurnani takes the charge of Tech Mahindra. So in place of Anand Gurnani takes everything. So even the message and everything, he writes it. So he is one of the most important person in Tech Mahindra, and he is there since 2012 when Satyam acquisition was happening. Yeah, so he's there since then. Yeah, another name, Mr. Nair, which I haven't put there, but he was brought in from Satyam, so he is also another important.
She's gone on mute.
Prema, are you
Prema,
on
you have
mute?
to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
You
So
need to begin from corporate governance.
Next slide, please. So corporate governance, yes, it is a family-owned company, as you know. Serge, third generation is leading the company, but there is no other person than Anand Mahindra in the company as such. And there are several, 7 committees in the company, and they are the board of directors, including the chairman, is 13 of them, 13 members in the board. So that's it. I have Google search. I don't see any news about this company or anybody from the company. So I haven't come across anything as such, neither bad or nor good. So they are very, very neutral. Okay, overview of the company. So as per the revenue distribution, so communication, like I told you, so communication is the highest, so which contributes 41.6% of the total revenue. Next is manufacturing, which contributes 18.1%. And the third one is banking, financial services and insurance, 13.6%. And there are rest as well. Next slide, please. Revenue distribution by geography. So they divide mainly, as you see, into three parts: America, Europe, and the rest of the world. India comes in rest of the world. America, as usual, is leading with 48.1%. So client distribution is, they're well diversified. So top client top client 1 to 5 contributes 57.2, no, 21.5, and so forth. So that's it. Next slide, please. Rashmi. Yeah, award and recognition, not only the chairman, but the company itself, they have been getting recognition from all over the place. So I'll just mention few here. So like best company to work for 2020, this is the recent one given by Great Place to Work. Best in mega employer and in best companies for career management, and company of the year IT, and the second by CNBC Awards ECO. Mr. Gurnani won the Business Today's Best CEO award in IT. Okay, IT and ITS in 2019. Technology excellence for blockchain, and so that's given by NASCOM Technology Award. Yeah. So these are few awards. They have like n numbers of the Golden Peacock HR Award also they won. Yeah. Now I hand over to Rashmi. So Rashmi, please go ahead.
Hello everyone. As Prema said that, so I will take you through how the function, what is the function, how it functions, the company. Okay. So Prema said that the history is related with telecom, even the revenue, we see that we have mostly from telecom. So there, as other IT companies, it is also into different verticals, majorly into communications, then banking, BFSI, then media and entertainment, retail and consumer, travel, transportation, hospitality, and logistics. Okay. And they are making a move into other sectors as well, other verticals. So Tech Mahindra is an IT service and solution based company. It is not a product based company. Okay. And it provides services for all the solutions like cloud infrastructure and cloud services, data analytics, everything that can be there in servicing, they are there. Okay. BPS, business process services, business excellence services, customer experience, network services, testing services, and it is also a solution driven company. So what is the difference between a product and a solution is that product is about the functionalities, okay, and solution is about process plus functionalities. So it is the three things that is its tagline is collaborate, connect, and change. It collaborate with different clients, academia, ecosystem players, startups for business solutions. Okay, so and it mainly focuses on the processes, how the experience of the client or the customer will be. So they are very experience driven. They are trying to bring in all the latest technologies. They are moving into digital transformation. So collaboration is all about they making collaboration with other product based companies, other services based company, other solution based companies. Connect means they are more, since they are mainly about processes and uh, services, so they mainly focus on how they deliver the experiences, and they are upgrading themselves for the latest technologies, which are AI, machine learning, all the new technologies that you can think of. Okay. And the strategy that they own, throughout their management is uh, run better for all the businesses that they cater to, that how any business can run better in any circumstances across all the challenges, how they can adapt faster, okay, and how they can grow greater. That is how they can grow their revenues, because the flow of data is adding to real time decision making. So how data can help them grow greater, have better revenue. So that is their focus area. So this is how Tech Mahindra works. Okay. And since I said that it is a solution based company and it is also the tagline is collaborate, it has uh, gone into acquisition of such companies which provides services related to experiences, related to the new technologies. Most of them are related to experiences, how the customer experience can be changed to a real experience. So all these companies, ObjectWise, MadPow, and how the new technological services can be included for the new verticals. These has been at the core of their acquisition. Okay. For 2021, they have gone for 3 acquisitions. Uh, the first two, the Momentum and the Tenzing Group, is about the BFSI market in Australia and New Zealand. So it is going to mark in expanding their footprint in Australia and New Zealand for BFSI sector. Vital Tech Holding, and these will complete their acquisitions by March or Jan 2021. Vital Tech Holdings, it is mainly about providing cloud-based telehealth and remote patient monitoring. Okay, and it caters to healthcare industry of the North America. So it will strengthen healthcare IT services business of Tech Mahindra.
Rashmi, 1 second.
Uh-huh.
Some slides,
Yes.
no, they are getting cut from the down. Now for this Vital Tech Holdings, no, I can read only 2 lines. The down one is getting cut for me at least. I am not sure whether others are also facing the same issue.
Okay, so how will I know that? Uh,
I can see fine, yeah. So last line is complete by Jan 2021. Yeah?
yes, yes.
I
I
can
can
see
also see. Yeah.
the full.
Yeah, I can also see the full view.
Slide. I can see the full slide.
Maybe I need to change something here.
Okay.
Remove your cursor from there because your bottom would be showing your
It was
background.
it was removed, the cursor. Maybe view option I have zoom ratio to fit to window. Maybe that's something I will change. No, I don't have that.
Maybe we can carry on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, okay. Okay, so some of the solutions that they have provided in our country are the smart city solutions that which they have provided for Jaipur, for Kanpur, and they are also working. They backed last year 500 crores project for Pimpri, a district in Maharashtra, which is a highly industrial area. So these are the some of the solutions they are really providing in our country. Okay. So far, we understood that it is a service-based, solution-based company. Okay, what is going to be the future of TechM? So TechM next is about the 3 mega trends that are coming. The new world that is going to be defined is with the digital disruption, with the upcoming of all the new technologies, especially 5G and Internet of Things. So how they define is they are saying currently when you have a Wi-Fi, you can connect 10 devices or maybe 10 smart devices or Internet of Things at your home. बट विद द एडवेंट ऑफ 5G, अभी हम 4G पे काम करते हैं तो हमें अच्छा स्पीड मिल रहा है. With the advent of 5G, the speed will be faster, latency will be less, and network capacity will increase. Network capacity मतलब अभी अगर हम 10 ऑब्जेक्ट्स या स्मार्ट डिवाइसेस को कनेक्ट कर पा रहे हैं तो मे बी 100 टाइम्स ज़्यादा डिवाइसेस को कनेक्ट कर पाएंगे. एंड जब हम 100 ज़्यादा डिवाइसेस को कनेक्ट कर पाएंगे तो ज़्यादा फ्लो ऑफ डेटा होगा, एंड देन इन रियल टाइम अ डिसीजन कैन बी मेड ऑन व्हाट टू डू विद द डेटा. सो इट इज़ गोइंग टू कम्प्लीटली चेंज द कमिंग वर्ल्ड. ऐसा कहा जा रहा है कि जैसे अगर ड्राइवरलेस कार है, दे विल बी कम्युनिकेटिंग अमंग देमसेल्व्स कि कौन सा पाथ लेना है, कहाँ जाना है. कोई अमेरिका में बैठा हुआ है एंड दे कैन डू द सर्जरी इन द विलेज ऑफ इंडिया with the advent of these new technologies, क्योंकि लेटेंसी कम होगी, क्योंकि स्पीड ज़्यादा होगा और कैपेसिटी, नेटवर्क कैपेसिटी ज़्यादा होगी, हम ज़्यादा डिवाइसेस से कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं. इट इज़ it is expected that by 2025 around 25 to 30 billion devices, smart devices, will get connected and will talk to one another. And this will be possible because of IoT, AI, 5G, and in the real time, we can see the manipulations of data. So these are the three mega trends. These are the four bets that they are focusing on, with three objectives: that how a business can run better, change faster, and grow greater. Okay. And to move on all these bets and to move on all these things, they are partnering with different clients. Especially for 5G, it is coming as a leading, it is coming as a pioneer. And so, just a second. In India also, they are supporting BSNL, MTNL on the 4G, 4G, how they can set up 3G and 4G with MTNL and BSNL. Also, it has gone in collaboration with ITI Limited for developing a lab here on 5G technology. Okay, it is also working with Geo. Plus, it has signed MOU with Finland government for setting up a lab, innovation lab for 5G and 6G technology. Okay, it is working with Celonis, which is providing artificial solution for business process services. And then the most important is Rakuten. It has gone in collaboration with Rakuten Mobile Network, which is a Japan-based global leader in internet services. It is mainly cloud. It is considered to be the pioneer on moving telecom onto cloud. Rakuten is considered that, and their culture is very aggressive. They are very automotive. Means everything whatever they build it end to end. So it is also working with the clients like US clients like AT&T. They are already the current telecom sector majorly in that. Tech Mahindra is majorly a leading solution. So they have a lot of scope for upcoming telecom this technology advancement. So Prema will take you through the key financials. Okay. Prema, over to you.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, hi. Before I take you to the highlights of the financials, this Tech Mahindra is listed with the exchange since 2006. So that's the most important thing. And yeah, as per the slide, the chart, it shows that revenue and operating revenue goes hand in hand. Before that, I would like to also mention that it is not a debt-free company, but it passes the debt test that we do. Yeah, so that's the thing important. So revenue is growing each year, um, and most of the revenue is coming from operations. So operating expense is okay. PAT is growing, but fluctuating. You can see there is a blue line passing through, and it is like sometimes it's touching and sometimes it's not touching, so it's going up and down. So next. Yeah, so the expense. So as usual, for the IT industries, the expense is more towards the employee benefits. And the next is other expenses, then the cost of material consumed. So the least expense is financial cost. Next. Yeah, they do have long-term and short-term borrowing. So short-term is higher than the long-term borrowings. And each year they are doing the borrowings. So, but 2020, it's like, as you see, the first one, the long thing, it's like short-term borrowing. So such a huge borrowing, more than 2,000 crores. So we tried to look into it. Why is it taken? But we could not find anything. Yeah. So the interest coverage ratio, as you can see on the slide on the chart on the right. So interest coverage ratio is still okay. It's more than 3 times. So out of at least 8 out of at least 10 years. Debt to equity ratio is less than 2 times. Rather, it's lesser than 2 times, like 1 time or even less. Yeah. So the next slide, please. Yeah, ROE and ROCE, it has gone down below the mark of 15% in 2012 and 13, and in 2013 it started going up, but it really dipped in 2014. So they gradually recovered on 2015, and since then it is stable and growing. So next slide, please. Yeah, we can see on the slide, the left slide, that they have free cash flows. Free cash flow is the green one, and we have done the marking, the line with the light blue color. So you can see they have cash flow, but it is also going up and down. So no stability. It is fluctuating. So if we compare cash flow with the dividend paid in crores, this is in crores. So it is, how to say, the ratio is good, so they are paying a good amount of, as per the cash flow, they are paying the dividend. So this is dividend in total, not dividend per share. So that's how. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
So finally, we come to what has been their strength and weaknesses that we have seen. So what we saw that as a strength is that they are very people oriented. Like most of the IT company, they have good. They take care of their employees. The HR is taking the focus to the employee to the next level. They have a humanoid for their HR queries. They have for all their queries, they are trying to build such systems that they don't have to go to the HR or even the humanoid. Their computer can answer all the queries related to their leave, their remuneration and everything. Okay, so people also get, they have they can also take 3 hours leave every month to work on some or the other social project. So mentally, physically, socially, and through different gratification, how people can be kept motivated and inspired. That is their focus. So I saw that as a strength. And also they are upgrading themselves with different collaborations on all the latest technologies and digital trends. The mega trends, that is 5G, and that IoT of 5 to 30 billion connected devices, on which that has become their mantra, is another strength. And the focus with which they are moving towards it is a strength. And also they are well diversified across geography, clients, and verticals. I saw that as strength. And they are upskilling their associates workforce from different perspectives. That is what I have tried to show here. But weakness which I see is that the concentration, suppose something happens in the communication vertical, their revenue can drop, so that is also a weakness. Of course I see that they have no product of their own. And that is it. These two I think. And opportunity I see that five. And also one more weakness, that though they are moving on to the new technologies, but nothing is predicted that how the world will be, how the things will react, how the system will react. So that predictability is not there, uh, complete predictability with the advent of new technology. So that is also considered a weakness. Opportunities that I sorry Opportunity that I see is the advent of 5G, Internet of Things, that can really change the situation of the world, how the world is interacting, how the machines are interacting. And with that, a huge opportunity for services and solutions are there. And threat is similar to all the IT threats. Like if there is a global economy risk in the time of pandemic, uncertainty in business environment. If there is some regulatory change or visa change, then there is a risk. Litigation risk, cyber attack risk. I think these are common across all the IT sectors. That is it from Wipro. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So now I stop the share, and Sheetal will take you through Wipro.
Thank you, Rashmi. Okay, it will be presented by Vijaya, and Vijaya and I will present. So Meenal is going to project it for us, so we'll give her a minute. While Meenal puts the slides up, thank you all for joining us today and being such a wonderful audience. Starting with Wipro, I'll take you through a little bit of a history about Wipro. Wipro is a 72 years, right? Shishma? 75. Yeah, 75 years old conglomerate. Okay, next slide.
You are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Okay. Just let me know once we need to.
Yeah, next slide. Can you put full screen possible? It looks so small. Is it only? We are good. We are good. Just let it be there. The full form of Wipro, the name Wipro itself is an abbreviated form of addressing or calling it. The full form of Wipro is Western Indian Farm Refined Oil Limited. That's the a full name of Wipro, and Wipro is incorporated in the year 1945 by Azim Premji's father, that's Mr. Mohammad Premji. Um, and that's the Wipro incorporation year. And Wipro, as an IT product business, entered in the year 1982. Azim Premji took over Wipro business after his father's demise when Azim Premji was just 21 years old. And Azim Premji has two sons, Rishad and Tariq. How many didn't know that Azim Premji had two sons? And apparently, Tariq also handles parts of Wipro business. He handles FMCG, consumer goods, infrastructure, and GE Medical. Right? These are some of the businesses that Tariq handles, while Rishabh handles large part of the Wipro business. The business lines that Wipro has is personal care, healthcare, lighting, furniture, IT services, consulting, outsourcing, and managed services. Right? We will take a look at the IT services, consulting, outsourcing, managing services. These are all part of the IT business. We will take you through a little bit of detail as to what their products are and things like that. Next slide, Vinay. In the next slide. To give you a little bit of a background about the current chairman and the CEO, the current chairman is Rishabh Premji. Rishabh joined Wipro in the year 2007, soon after he finished his master's from Harvard. Rishabh has earlier held roles in strategy as a chief strategy officer in merger and acquisition team. And also he was a board member for FMCG infrastructure and Wipro GE businesses, and of course the Azim Premji Foundation. He was also a board member. Uh, Prior to resuming or prior to taking over as the chairman of Wipro, Rishabh has held the role of a CEO at NASCOM in 2018 and 2019. Uh, Rishabh has also holded, I mean, he joined in 2015 as an executive director, followed by, he joined as a chairman in June 6, 2019. Right? This is a little bit of a background about Rishabh. In 2014, he was recognized as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum. This is one of the accolades that he has as part of his short tenure as CEO and chairman. He, this is about Rishabh, and about the CEO, Mr. Terry Delaporte, uh, comes with a robust background of working in India with Indian conglomerates. That is the advantage that I see, uh, he joining the Wipro. And Delaporte joined Wipro on June 6, 2020 as a CEO and MD. He's one of the first expat CEOs who joined Wipro, and he works on a 5 point strategy. The 5 point strategy is, the first one is the growth, scale, offering, talent, and simplification on operating model. Right? These are the 5 point strategy that anything that he works on, it revolves around these. Uh, this is about Delaporte. Next slide, please. Talking about the services and products about uh, Wipro, they are into data analytics and AI applications and digital operations and platforms consulting, infrastructure services, and cybersecurity. I'm going to take through each of these products, what cloud means and what security, cybersecurity, digital, and all of that, one by one, to give you a little bit of an understanding about their products. Starting with cloud, Wipro empowers cloud, enterprises in the continuous transformation journey by providing them end-to-end cloud services across different domains. They've delivered through Cloud Studio that they have, which They call it as Cloud Studio, and they deliver across different domains and industries. The next product is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is again, they enable end-to-end security solutions and services for businesses, for enterprises, for partners and consumers. Uh, this is at a different, or I mean, they are trying to embark on all levels of clientele. They handle physical security platforms, data governance platforms, security management platforms, security intelligence, and also integrated threat management as part of their offerings. Uh, you know, I mean, one of the strengths that I saw was they have security seems to be one of the robust or a 100% kind of a product line they have. The third one is digital. Together with the Design It is another partner company that we are into. Together with Design It and Rational Partners, they are an innovation-led enterprise transformation partner built for today's digital challenges. They focus on the things that matter: insights, interactions, integrations, and innovations that make extraordinary things happen for brands, businesses, and the customers. The fourth product is Engineering Next, NXT. It's abbreviated as NXT. This platform of services offerings combines with the majority of engineering processes. Basically, this product is catered to engineering industries. The passion for the latest technology and the access to a diverse ecosystem to deliver a value to customers at various stages of the product or the platform lifecycle. Right? It is also termed as Engineering NXT by Wipro. They cater the services to industries like automotive, banking, finance, banking and finance, energy and utilities, industrial engineering, media and entertainment, healthcare and life science, and aerospace and defense. These are heavy engineering industries the services are catered to. The last one is called HOLMES, HOLMES. The offering of HOLMES has been successfully deployed across industrial verticals and functions, driving the three E's. Three E's stands for efficiency, economics, and experience. The biggest challenge faced by the customers in artificial intelligence and automation are what the technologies can do for them. Like, these two technologies, what can we do for them? How they can get past the adoption hurdles, and how to achieve a non-linear growth in speed, scale, and agility. Holmes helps basically in adopting these technologies in a faster pace, right? Which gives them, of course, the speed, scale, and agility. Holmes provides vendor neutral advisory services. When you're referring to a vendor neutral services, there are certain products which will help you build on them in the sense, say for example, there is a Salesforce product which is already taking care of right from your pre-sales to your sales, booking the order to delivering the order, and then the invoice, right? This entire life cycle will be taken care on Salesforce. When you have to build a parallel product, or say finance is an aligned function, right? Now the invoice is raised, the money to come, and that should get automatically accounted for. Whereas there are certain products, say for example, SAP. I, I mean, 5 years ago, I had worked on this product. I knew, they wouldn't give you the source code to kind of get them flawlessly put into the same platform, right? Something of that sort. So when you are referring to vendor neutral advisory services or something of that sort, where two different vendor products should be on the same platform, and how flawlessly can you make those platforms work together? Or and pre-built solution assets on ecosystem marketplaces. It addresses the functions like finance, legal, procurement, HR, and marketing activities. It gives you a varied, I mean, a 360-degree kind of solution in an organization. Having said that, if you say in HR again there are 4 or 5 different functions, right? Will they take care of all that? Maybe not. In HR it talks about employee engagement function, right? But recruitment is again a huge function in HR. L&D is another huge function in HR. Those are things that Homes does not take care, but however it addresses some portion of, say, finance or some portion of legal procurement and those kind of products. That's about Homes. Right? This is the product line of Wipro. Uh, Next slide, please. Now let's take a look at it, some of the acquisitions that in the recent past that Wipro has done. The first one is Encore. Encore Team Technologies is a Chennai-based company. They are a specialist in providing software as services, which is a SaaS product, and a cloud solution in financial services. Encore is got a focus on implementing a broad suite of trade finance solutions developed by Finistra. This is a trading product, one of the world's largest fintechs to financial institutions for the Middle East, Africa, India, and Asia Pacific. Their business revolves around Asia and some of the Middle East countries. The acquisition will close in the quarter ending 31st December 2020. However, the acquisition cost has not been mentioned or anywhere it is not called out. The second acquisition is 4C, which is which is another acquisition that Wipro has done. Wipro strategy is to expand.
Thank you.
Folks, please put yourselves on mute. Wipro's strategy is to expand in European market. The headquarters of 4C is in Belgium. 4C is an independent Salesforce Platinum partner with deep capabilities around multiple Salesforce clouds. Right? With over 350 employees based out of London, Paris, Brussels, and Dubai, 4C has a Salesforce practice in UK, France, Bel- Benelux and Nordics and the UAE regions. The acquisition deal is about 68 million euros. The third acquisition is IVA. It is founded in the year 1996. IVA provides IT solutions, including system development, maintenance, consulting, and project management services to the clients in various sectors, starting from financial services, transportation, retail. Transportation is nothing but your airline industry and all of it. Retail and healthcare and consumer goods and manufacturing in Brazil regions. It is also reported a revenue of 13.5 million for the year ended 31st December 2019. The acquisition was closed at the cost of $22.4 million. The last acquisition that I would like to mention for today is the International Techie Group Incorporated Limited, which is an ITI as a short form. It's a digital engineering and manufacturing solution company. It is said to be the leader in this space in terms of, you call it as computer aided design, which is CAD, and it is also another product is product lifecycle management, which is shortly called as PLM. These are two different software services they are into. Wipro thinks this acquisition can complement Wipro's core strength in the Industry 4.1 and also allows them to offer an end-to-end solution in the digital engineering and manufacturing space. This company was acquired at the cost of 45 million. Next slide, please. In terms of corporate governance, Wipro looks like a lot peaceful company. We did not find any kind of information about governance piece of it, barring there was just one a case that is filed in US. The lawsuit was filed in a district court in New Jersey. Claims that while about only 12% of the United States folks work in the company, rest of them are, Wipro, 80% of them are South Asians, and they are primarily Indians. That was the only news that we could find around the corporate governance piece. Uh, right now we took a look at the history and the product, and how strong this company is in terms of be it building the company, or how they over the years how they have grown. But we now need to look at how the last 5 years, how they've grown, and how they will grow the next 5 years. Right, over to Sheetal to give a little more clarity on all the areas.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, although I checked up on this, the 5 former employees file case, and it is interesting to find. Was interesting to find that TCS, Infosys, they also had such lawsuits against them. So it seems to be a pretty common IT thing. So just wanted to share. But I also tried to see if anything had come out of it. The last I saw was it is still in court, and I couldn't find the outcome of it. Okay. We can move to the next slide. Yeah, I think something interesting maybe we missed mentioning is that when Richard took over, before he became the chairman of the company, he was also for a year the chief strategy officer. Now, that was around the year 2018. So did he make some groundbreaking strategic moves to move Wipro? We will see in the numbers. And so, our friend Vijaya took us through all the industry specifics and the products and services. And this is a quick snapshot of the finances where the revenues have come from. Okay. Meenal, if you could move to the next slide. We want to spend a little more time looking at the financials. Okay. So, Nikki and I partnered in working on the financials of this company. And, we started with some pretty good companies. And we had a real headache working on Wipro's numbers. And as part of the exercise that we do, the first thing we look for is it a debt-free company or not? And being a company that's been around for 75 years, I expected it's going to be debt-free. Okay. Then I saw that it wasn't debt-free. The next slide has it, but let's stay with this for a little while. And so I tried to, we can see that there's a steady climb in the revenue. Looks pretty good. Then I tried to look at what happened in maybe the sharp decline that we see since 2013-14. So each year I try to dig out more information for our community, and I'll take you guys through what I found from the annual report, right? And see if you can make some sense of it, or if there's any storyline you can also spin around, why people have loved Wipro. So for the year 2014 and 2015, where we see a very steep decline in the profit growth, they have attributed this change to, they said that macroeconomic growth was moderate. So the macroeconomy also didn't do so great that year. And they saw that there was a steep drop in oil prices in the middle of the fiscal year, which aided consumer and oil consuming economies. So, and the oil producing economies and their supply chain partners in energy production and exploration were affected adversely. So the decline in this particular year, I see that they have said it's because of the oil prices. Then I looked at, okay, what happened in the following year, then in 2015 and 16. I looked at that. They've said that the overall IT product segment decreased by 12.6. The numbers in the AR was a little confusing for me to read. So if anybody else has also experienced this, because, you know, somewhere they show a growth, they will say revenue profitability couple of times, somewhere they're showing growth, somewhere they're showing a decline. So I tried to make sense of what they had said. Okay. But they have said that the decrease in the IT product segment, the profitability decrease primarily on account of product pricing pressure and the depreciation of Indian rupee, resulting in higher product costs. So that's what they have attributed it to. Okay. Then I looked at, okay, then what happened in 2016 and 17? I was waiting for them to revive. Now there are also reasons, you know, more reasons coming up in the following year. Now they have said that, again, the reasons are similar, by the way. Okay, product pricing pressure, cost escalations in certain projects, and the depreciation of the Indian rupee resulting in higher product costs. So that's what they have said for the reduction in the profit. Okay. Now, then what happened in 2017 and further in 2017 and 18 then? Here somewhere in the annual report, I saw that they have mentioned that there's been a decline in sales by, 5,000 million rupees. So they saw a 5% decline in sales. Additionally, in very, very small print, I saw this as well. Profit for the year ended March 31st, 2018 is after considering the insolvency of 2 customers and impairment loss totaling to 5,255 million. So which means they lost 2 contracts. Is that what it means? Oh, maybe somebody can help me on, because insolvency means the 2 customers ran into debt, right? So that's what they have said that, and the interesting thing was that this was in very, very fine print. Okay, and how I stumbled upon this was because I just typed profit and I kept looking at all the profit related conversations. By the way, that's the best practice sharing. Reading the entire annual report is an insurmountable task, and it can, we look at very segmented, but something that I found, some interesting insights I got because I did that quick search, and I just spent some time looking at all the keywords. So just if anybody had not tried it, you might want to try it the next time. So that's what they have said, that decline in sales happened. Why did which segment? I'm not sure here. Further, they have added this line about what happened with the 2 customers. Then there was something else regarding the operating income they had mentioned in that particular year. No, this is not for that year. Okay. Then let's come to 2018. Now, suddenly in 2018 and 19, we see, okay, profit growth is amazing. So what did they say in the annual report? They have acknowledged that the revenue also really increased, and they're attributing the growth in that particular year to an overall growth within the 6 out of the 7 industry verticals in that period. Okay, so, and they also said that they signed a really large deal in India, which was aligned to their strategy of taking global offerings to India customers. So the then CEO said this in an interview. Something else that they have mentioned with regards to the growth, mostly led by the largest industry verticals within Wipro, again, BFSI and the consumer business unit, because we were looking at the consolidated number. So I think that's why we also see this unit here. And another reason they've given it also a result of the depreciation of the Indian rupee against foreign currencies, including the dollars, Euro, United Kingdom sterling, pound, and Canadian dollar. Okay. Further, they've added that the growth in the BFSI and CBU industry, that's the consumer business unit industry verticals, was a result of increasing our differentiated offerings across our geographic and digital capabilities. So these are some of the reasons that they have cited in the AR. And further, from the interview also, I captured that 6 out of 7 verticals did great in that particular year. And in that particular year, I think 2018 somewhere, as I was reading, I was just looking at, oh, could it be because they made these structural changes and, you know, some people started to leave and the Sun took over? Or is Sun the magician in this company? Is he going to spin things around? Because the past, even the articles have said that the past couple of years, you know, how Wipro was the third largest or the third greatest, and then it was displaced by HCL, and you know, it's slid down the whole list of top companies. So will the new people, the Sun and Thierry Delaporte, move things around is the question. Another thing is we of course looked at the share price, right? Because as retail investors, what would we want? You know, that whatever may be going on in the background in the company, however the numbers are, at the end of the day, the direct result, our money grows when the share price is growing, right? So we also look at that, and we see that this has been the rise so far. Do you guys think this is an impressive rise in the share price? Had you invested in 2011 and it is today at 336 rupees, would you be a happy investor? Please put it in the chat box. Yeah, so my question, Kushali, was that if you see the share price rise the way it has risen in the last 10 years and where it is now, as a retail investor, would you be a happy investor today? Okay, so some people have said that no, not at all. What about others? Meenu, Neelu, Neha, Hira. Okay, Hira is saying no. Okay, thanks. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the debt raised and debt repaid, by the way, guys, because like I said, you know, I kept looking at, is it a debt-free company? Okay, it is not. And why is it not striving? Because most of the IT companies we've read, the big ones, its peers are debt-free. So have been debt-free for a long time. So why is it not striving to become a debt-free company? In fact, what we found was it was taking debt, raising short-term debt almost every year. Okay, it's raising debt every year, but it's also paying back. So when I looked at the AR to see why is it that they keep taking debt, then going into debt rather, then they have said that somewhere they have mentioned that they take this for working capital in the company. So that's when they take the short-term borrowings. So fair, I was again questioning that, okay, such a big company, 75 years and all of that, why do they have to even take debt for, you know, working capital? That was another not so impressive thing, at least for me. Now, you may have a different opinion. If you do, then please put it in the chat box and, you know, we will discuss, and especially, you know, people who have been in the bank or with economics background and all of that, okay? Then when we look at the free cash flow from operations and the free cash, they have been consistently keeping some free cash as well. So looks decent, or at least we're happy as investors, or they have enough cash that they're keeping with them. So these are some of the financial highlights. What do you think about the debt raised and debt repaid? Are you happy to see that they have continued to be in debt and that they in no time, they don't want to come out of it? It seems like that. Okay. So yeah, we can move to the next slide. And there's more on financials. Yeah, so I kept asking this question, 75-year-old company is not debt free. Why? Because they've been taking for this one.
We will go to our spreadsheet, Shital.
Yes, and we have some. So maybe if you see, if anybody saw in the news that they had released a uh, buyback announcement as well. And we want to share something more from our worksheet. So Meenal, you could stop sharing and I'll share something that I have. And you could also allow me to share the screen. अब हम आपको पर्दे के पीछे लेके जाएंगे. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Where the juice is. Maybe at least we had fun looking at those numbers and discussing. Okay, thanks, Meena. One second. Okay. Now let's talk about this. So beyond the financials, we also looked at tried to deep dive into the balance sheet and took a look at all of these items. And here's what I have extracted for everybody. So the revenue for the past years, we have seen that it's been on a gentle increase. So in recent times, 61,000 revenue from operations, and total expense. We know the IT companies, they again, a lot of expenses majorly attributing to the employee benefits, right? And then how much cash from operating activities you can see here in the recent time, 10,064 crores as the operating activities. We also saw that they have decent amount of free cash flow to firm that they keep. Okay. Now, Vijay,
yeah,
yeah,
I have
you see?
Yeah, I am looking at this cash flow, and the company looks, cash rich. Yet, they're still not debt free. A 75-year-old company, yet not debt free, right? So,
Yeah.
can you help us understand how can this magic happen?
Yes, like I had, we saw that one, they are taking debt to manage other activities in the company, and they're keeping this cash flow to firm, which usually everybody is happy that the company is keeping so much debt. Of course, it goes back to, okay, why is still not debt free? Then we also see something else here, Vijaya. If you look at the bottom here, this is net cash from investing activities. So for everyone else, we know that there are three ways cash flows into the company: through investing, financing, and then operating. And we know that the business is doing great when it's bringing maximum cash through its operations. Then something surprising was, okay, it's getting a lot of money from investing activities as well. So where I see negative, I'm actually happy because it is doing it is investing, whether it's buying plant or property, investing its money for hedging purposes. So it's doing that. So when I see the positive numbers, it means that it has maybe it's liquidated some of its investments and that got money in. Okay, so bringing more cash into the business.
So this means, for me, anywhere there is a positive figure on the AR, right? And I'm very happy to look at the positive figure. The moment there is a negative figure, that means not so great signs, right? So that's how I look at numbers. So do you have some inputs for our fellow investors to say, how do you make sense out of these positive and negative numbers? Where, when you have a positive number or where you have a negative number, it's a good sign, or it's a good way to look at it, right? Can you just give us those hints, Shital?
Yeah, so particularly to do with net cash, my understanding that net cash in investing activities, the more our company would invest, then they are optimistic about where they're investing. Of course, we'll have to deep dive into what kind of activities they are investing in. But where I see a negative in investing activities, I think we should be happier that they're doing that. And when the positive net cash we see from investing activities, especially now, I was quite startled when I look at, so it's operating activities se cash itna 11,600 crores, and then almost 40% of the additional money that the cash that the company brought in was through withdrawing some of the investments. right? What sort of investments did they sell off? Those details I don't have at the moment. Maybe something for us to look at. But other things that we saw was, when the buyback story, the buyback thing I saw, then we looked at other activities like the bonus. Now, if you look at this, so further into the study, we looked at this, that why companies give bonus. So
Yeah.
if anybody had invested and bought some thousand shares of Wipro, then Wipro has given so many bonus so far, so many times. Okay. So if somebody had 1,000 shares, then 2:1 simply means that for every 2 shares you hold, the company gives you one more. So this is a way to say thank you to the shareholders, is how I see it. Okay. So this way, 1,000 shares over the years, if you had just bought and kept, just through receiving all the bonus, to on this day today, you would hold 60,000 uh, shares, right? So this is one way money compounds in the share market when you get bonus, right? Now, the other thing about dividend, when I looked at, okay, how much dividends Wipro growing? So would you be happy to hear that this company gives you a dividend, interim dividend of 1 rupee?
Per share.
Yeah. Don't smile. It is reality, Vijaya.
Yeah, it
This
is. I
company,
know.
it is giving 1 rupee. But yeah, so it's giving, so dividend, when I look at as an individual, maybe if I have just 10-20 shares, a 1 rupee kya karne ka 1 rupee ka, right? But if you look at some loyal investors who've stayed on, 1 rupee also gives them 60,000. If somebody has 1 lakh shares today, then that person has 1 lakh, receives 1 lakh, right? In the account. So I can see that maybe it's they've been keeping the loyal investors happy over the years. And then another thing that they do with the buyback. Now with the buyback also, what happens? That the investors get an opportunity, they like to sell the shares at a higher rate, and then they take the shares back. But here another question was that Wipro as a company, their shareholding is 74%. So मेरा दिमाग ये था कि okay, if it is buying, why is it buying back? Is it that they need to increase their shareholding? Is that why they buy back shares? But for a company that has 74% stake in the company already, why would they need to buy back? Plus, debt may be here. Then why are they buying back? Which means only that cash is going out, right? Now, other strategies I'm not able to understand, but I'm just questioning the way they are doing things. Is it just to, especially, is it just to, I wouldn't say just, but is it to keep the loyal investors happy? So that's the only conclusion I've come to at this point. But as a new investor, just looking at the way things have been for the past couple of years, new investor को इतना शायद फायदा नहीं हो, even with the share price rise and all of that, unless somebody bought lakhs of shares maybe. But yeah, it's not very impressive to me, at least looking at their numbers. Now the only silver lining is I am looking forward to the new guys, Rishad, a young man, but culturally again, a family, from the family lineage. So I'm looking at him, and then the first non-IT guy who they have hired as the CEO. I'm really looking to
No,
see.
is a IT guy, but
Non-Indian,
yeah,
non-Indian person. I'm just looking at if they can cause a magic to turn things around for Wipro. Otherwise, looking at all of these, yeah, maybe some of you will ask, will you invest? But maybe you already know the answer. Okay.
Do you mind sharing that screen once again? I saw something called goodwill there, and it gives some big numbers. If you don't mind, could you share it?
Okay, goodwill.
Yeah, somewhere
Wait.
here.
No, यहाँ पे है. Goodwill is here.
Yeah. the goodwill numbers look so heavy, right? And you know, I tried reading. I mean, I didn't try looking at this, or I'm just flashed it, and I want to ask you this question, Sheetal. But yesterday, when I was going through this battle of, you know, the TCS battle, yesterday in the news, it was talking about brand equity, right? I'm guessing brand equity and goodwill are not so different. How does one calculate a goodwill in the IT industry? Or how do you calculate the brand equity in the IT industry? Maybe this is a
That's a
question
good
not just for
question.
Sheetal, any one of you can answer because all of you who have studied IT or non-IT in any format, right? How does one calculate the goodwill? Because that's a huge number, right? So, anyone can take this question.
Yes. As a goodwill gesture, we give this goodwill question to you. If somebody can figure out what is this huge goodwill number they're talking about. So that's what it is. Yeah, now I think, okay, we will rope in Lasya. Okay. So that is all that we have for Wipro. और कौन invest कर रहा है बस बता के चले जाना. Don't just go like that, okay?
Thank you, Sheetal, for telling us why not to invest. All the reasons for not investing in Wipro. Thank you so much. We are really indebted.
You're welcome. And then we also learned about how, with bonus, it just holding on to our shares, how over the years it compounds, right? We saw that as well. I think Sonia has a question, price paid, assets acquired. Sonia, pura question batana.
Maybe unmute and ask the question.
Oh, price. She's saying that price paid, assets acquired is goodwill.
Price paid minus asset
Minus
acquired is goodwill. Price paid.
Okay. So further deep diving. What about the others? What are you taking back? And what are your questions for Wipro? Chalo, aap invest karo, na karo.
Wipro as well as Tech Mahindra. What are your takeaways?
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing is standing out for me for these two companies, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to be rude. I know you guys have read a lot. It's not a personal comment, but it's just like they are service companies. They're doing well, and frankly, I've been a user of their services as an employee of another company. But nothing stands out. They're great employers. But if I'm looking at them as investors, matlab,
The whole point of picking these two companies was to show, also to look at why not to look at some companies for investing as much as they look very green, very nice, and in their numbers, they do look big, right? But when you get into nitty-gritties, there are some aspects that we kind of miss out. That's precisely what we wanted to bring it to the table. So,
When we actually did our study, Wipro, so Jayanti is not here. Wipro was where we all, just like Mindtree के time पे everybody sat and listened to खुशहाली जैसे चादर पे बैठ के सुनते हैं जमीन पे, वैसे वो Wipro, Jayanti was telling us the story and then everybody sat around her and listened to why Wipro is, not so good for investors perhaps, so that's what just we were discussing. There are better companies, there are better companies that we have already studied and shared with everybody. So
at least for investing now, right? If you are already an investor, say 5 years ago, then keeping what you have may be some choice.
No, I think past investors would still make money.
Yeah.
But not the time to get into it now.
Yeah.
That's for Infosys also.
Yeah. So for the loyal, so it just seems like to me, it is the only thing that was coming out was maybe loyalty pays, but nothing substantial for us new investors के लिए. ठीक है.
बड़ा नाम काफी नहीं है. They've made enough money also over the years, but now we got to see how the team, the Rishabh and Teleport will span out. Right, the next 3 years looks a little more critical because Teleport has just joined. Rishabh is just a year old into that role. As much as father must be grooming him for a couple of years now, but he's just a year old into the role. So we may want to wait and watch the next 2-3 years. I will be in the after looking at the next two or 3 years performance of these two gentlemen. Delaport will be deported or Delaport will continue to be Wipro and doing some great work. We will get to see that.
I think they have done kind of an industry changing thing by hiring a non-Indian CEO.
Yeah.
Being touted. At least that's what I read everywhere. Whether it turns out favorable or unfavorable, as you rightly said, observe for 1 year and figure out whether they're going anywhere.
Yeah.
But
it was, and then some of the
has a history of being in Indian culture, Indian market, and all that, right? He has worked earlier in the Indian company in India and things like that. So that way, as much as he's an expat, yet he is slightly more aware about the culture nuances of an Indian conglomerate, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he comes from Capgemini, and he has he had worked with Capgemini for 20 years, and then he has to bring somebody like that. Is just interesting to see what is it. And even some of the articles did mention it was about time they took such a decision, so that's what. Okay, so please do drop any questions if you have, then do send it to us, and if there's anything else you'd like us to check and then get back to you with. Maybe, hopefully Kushali.
Nilu says, biased against HCL or in favor of it? Okay, you feel most strongly about LTI.
No, I don't feel more strongly. I feel more strongly about what's coming up tomorrow, Nilu. You should come. Yes.
Right.
What are the companies for tomorrow?
Arey, you don't know, Parul, how I've persisted with this one.
Midcap for the investors who are like graduated now more than 2 years.
Which one is that? Now I'm curious.
Persistent systems. Have you heard? How many of you have heard of persistent systems? Exactly why you must come, और हम बताएंगे आपको कि कहाँ से निकाल के आए हम इस company को. It's been in the news a lot. But until we had begun this study, we had also not known about persistence. But so that's where we'll begin as to how did we come across this one, So it's an interesting one. But check it out. It's been in the news over and over again.
And Sheetal has done दिन और रात दोनों मिल-मिला के study किया शीतल ने.
कुछ नहीं दिख रहा.
So
okay.
We are so looking forward to Sheetal.
And Shelly and I will bring it tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can close it now. Right? It's 8:35. It's been interesting.